full of wonder, it's full of awesomeness. Occasionally it gets petty. But trust me, I could have found something better to do with my time over the last 4 decades if there wasn't more awesomeness here than not. Okay, questions? We got about 10 minutes. And we don't have to necessarily stick with fighting or things like that.
So
This is your chance to talk to the time capsule.
Okay, well, so I started fighting in '82, not as part of the SCA, but at 12 years old as part of a fantasy group that lasted till '89. And those of us that became more serious, about half of us out of a group of 30, joined the SCA, and it was a transition for us. Okay, I have friends that spent maybe not as long as I did, but 10 years after that in the SCA, prior, after the Sarah Grimm Dormant, the fantasy group we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them will say there was something wholly magic about that earlier time period that the SCA never captured for them. And it may have been that it was all fresh and new, there was a little bit more of a fantasy. Well, my question is, the early SCA looks a lot like what we were doing. We experimented with wiffle ball bats, kendo sticks, hockey helmets. So my question is there some element of magic that's hard to, maybe it's hard
There is some
to,
element of magic. It also has something to do with the fact that I was 20 at that point. And most of the SCA, the average age of the SCA at that point was probably about 21 to 23.
so it may have just been the dynamic of a younger
And
crowd.
we were all
everything was
hopeless
fresh and
romantics.
new.
We were all hopeless romantics. It was the 70s.
Which in itself was
And this was new. This was something to get in on the ground floor of. Please do not ever accord me or any other old guy with a coronet on his head too much adulation or deference. We just started early and we stuck it. There are brand new guys in the SCA, brand new fighters, and I look at them and I go, oh man, that's me 42 years ago. I mentioned I can still occasionally spot him, but I'll use Sir Cecil as an example. One of our relatively new knights. Great guy, fun guy, just doing a tremendous job with training a lot of new people out of Bloomington, Indiana. But he started out as his sophomore year at Purdue with the SCA, and he wanted to learn, and he was enthusiastic. And he wanted to learn how to fight bastard sword. So he asked me to give him a bastard sword lesson. So we gave one, and I gave him one, and then he said, okay, can we actually try using this stuff, please, please, please? Okay, fine. He zigged when he should have zanged, and caught a full force bastard sword shot, two-handed, about 4 inches above the keons, right across the bridge of his nose. He's not a big guy. He went down like he was poleaxed. And I went, oh Christ, I've broken his neck. And I looked down and he had an open face helmet. He's got this big grin on his face. I said, you okay? He said, this is the greatest day of my life. I remember thinking at the time, oh God, that reminds me of what it was like. That is the original incarnation of the Midrealm Rangers.
That might be worth some comment.
Because there weren't a lot of us, for all of the stories that came out after that. But what is kind of interesting is that out of that group, there's a master. There's one member of the chivalry in that group. Now, people know them as Sir Alan Culross, Duke Sir Corin du Soleil, Sir Varian, Sir Guillaume, Sir Emmerich, Sir Cavern, Baron Thomas, Count Sir Valerius, and Master Newt Knudsen. And those were all flat-out young guys that just had so much in the way of energy and enthusiasm that they didn't balk when some older guy asked them, hey, you want to join a unit that probably won't live through anything? Because we were told to do things like, this is the Woods fight, go stop the Eastern Army on that trail. Yes, sir. So what's the plan, boss? We're all gonna die. Okay, plan A, all right. Take a shower. Yeah, we tripled in size the next war. I learned my lesson on that one. Any other questions?
What's the most challenging part about doing it for that long?
Not losing heart. Somebody asked me a couple of years ago whether getting older, I turned 62 a couple of weeks ago, whether getting older was a hardship. And I said, well, physically, yes, but the upside is that fighting is a challenge. It's a real, oh, no. If I go up against a knight now and I beat him, I feel like I'm 22. I just beat a knight. Yeah. Because I can recognize the fact, and this is not just my opinion, this is medical stuff, this is medical statistics. I'm about half as fast as I was when I was 20. I'm flattered when younger guys will go, oh, geez, I don't want to see you when you're twice as fast. No, I'm not fast now. I just know a shorter distance between point A and point B than you do. So experience can make up for it a little bit, but it's tough. I not so jokingly say that I lost all of my superpowers when I got old. I cannot rely on being twice as fast as anybody I fight to win that fight. I've got to outfight them. I can't go from point A to point B anymore without covering any of the points in between. And I used to do that routinely. Well, that one that's an embarrassing caption on the thing. Because that was a day when that may have been the event I showed up at as Prince or King. They were having a 4-man melee tournament, but they had a shortage of fighters, so I entered as one team. And won. And it wasn't that I was that good. I was pretty good. But that was still an era where they were still feeling out. These were guys that had no idea how to fight form.
Are completed. If you want to practice with the unbuilt team, they will be out on the fighting field currently from 5 until 5:45. Again, unbuilt practice.
Kids run along and have
From
fun.
5 until 5:45.
Any other questions? I'm not sure who we've got in here next.
I think this is the end of the class. This is the last slide.
If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. I'm too old to be anything but honest.
Thank you.
What, as far as what shouldn't we do to last?
What shouldn't you do?
Yeah.
That's a long list.
No, it actually gets pretty short. Stop learning. Stop learning. I've done this for 40 years, and I'm still in awe of how much I have to learn, just about fighting, let alone metalworking, or Norse culture, or how to seduce a woman, or anything. I've never had a clue about that. Anything else?
What's the most fun thing you've done?
Oh my God.
No, don't have him tell that.
No, that's the toughest question I'll ever be asked for the SCA. I've done
Maybe
so
one
many
moment
things.
you could think, well, this is the most fun I've had.
That 40th Pennsic fight is in the top 5. Of the moments I remember over 40 years, I stood, they crowned me king at my first coronation in a huge ballroom. And I had a standing ovation from the crowd, and I never, ever, I hadn't expected it, my queen hadn't expected it. And it was just oh my God, they like me, they really like me. At 1,000-man charge. I don't think I was in command, but I was in front of it. Commanding the Middle Kingdom Artillery Corps, the year of the Yellow Rain. When I could line up 24 ballistas, hub to hub, and volley fire.
How long did?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was awesome. They pretty much banned ballistas out of effective use.
How long did it take for siege weaponry to become prevalent? I mean, it took a while for pole arms.
Coming on. It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, to become
What's
come in
funny
use
is
at
they
all,
said
I should
we
say.
paralleled actual medieval history, and that is nowhere more apparent than the griping you hear from the knights about archery.
Yeah.
They are cowards, they are vile, they are dirt of the earth. And regrettably, some of the archers helped that along. If I had my way, if I could change one thing that would probably change a lot of the complexion of how people feel about other arms, it would be that if you're on a heavy battlefield, you die by getting hit with something. No, oh, I surrender. If you're gonna go out there, you're gonna get hit with something. That's how you die. And it's also why I've always told anybody that we've trained with the Constellation Siege Corps, your graduation exercise is to walk out there 30 feet, turn around and take one in the chest. Because if you're gonna deal it out, you gotta know what it feels like. And if you are overrun, if you run out of ammo, if your gun goes down, you're infantry. Get your weapons, let's go. And that goes a long way toward taking a lot of the animosity out of any kind of elite. But that existed in the Middle Ages. Gunners were skilled labor and were highly resented by the infantry. Unless they were helping to kill people that were trying